And welcome to stage 2 of the Tour of Britain, where I have to say there is no stage 2 of the Tour of Britain. The sad news is here in Kendal this morning the conditions were so appalling that after a short consultation with the UCI, the race organisers, the teams and the riders, the race was, I'm afraid to say, called off. Now, I'd like straight away to say that none of this is my fault. I know Jill Douglas did a fine job yesterday, and as soon as I come on the race, the whole thing falls apart. But Janto Barker, it's hard to bring this over on the television cameras, but quite how bad the conditions have been all morning, and they're likely to get worse as well. Has the right decision been taken?
I think possibly the right decision has been made. It's been made by the organisation as opposed to the riders, because I think once you're suited up and ready to go as a rider, you know, you're already motivated, and sometimes you can make the wrong decisions by maybe going out when you shouldn't have done, but I think the cool heads of the management have made the right decision, and the race has been called off, as I think it is going to be worse at the finish than it is at the start here. Constant
Gusting winds, but a steady 80 kilometres an hour on the tops of some of these hills. I caught a glimpse of Mick Rogers, the Team Sky rider, just poking his head out of a window and saying, great weather you guys have got here. I mean, a lot of the riders will be thinking, yeah, actually, I didn't fancy it today, and they've got the World Championships coming up as well, haven't they? So you have to bear that in mind.
Exactly. It's a risky enough sport anyway, and you don't want to exaggerate that by, taking, silly risks on days like today. I think they've made the right decision, and I think many of the riders with reflection will probably agree and enjoy a slightly more relaxing day.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a relaxing day for sure. The conditions, as I say, here at the start in Kendal, awful. At Blackpool this morning, they were even worse. Very exposed, of course, on the seafront, the waves crashing against the shore. That's where the race would have finished today. No one could have guaranteed any safety there. All the barriers, all the signage, everything had to be dismantled and taken down. It simply wouldn't have been safe. And that is one of the many reasons why the organisers, including Hugh Roberts, took the decision to call it off.
In this situation, we've absolutely got to err on the side of caution. And Mick, who is the technical director based in Blackpool, says that the conditions there are terrible. There's 60-mile-an-hour winds blowing waves over the front there, and they're only set to get worse, not better.
We consult everybody. Everybody's at stake here. We have rider safety to worry about, we have official safety to worry about, and we have police safety to worry about. So the decision has been made for everybody's safety on the race. We have had cars have lost bikes. We have police have said it's very difficult across the hills, and at the finish, the conditions are really bad. So unfortunately, it was the real bottom line we had to do. We were talking about neutralising stages, we were talking about many different options, but unfortunately we've had to cancel the stage.
In 1986 we did the milk race and they cancelled the stage because people were getting blown off, cars, lorries getting blown over, so yes, I think that's the one time, but yeah, as you say, there was no other decision to make other than cancel the stage. I mean, safety is paramount. So
the World Championships coming up, that's I think that's also in the back of everybody's minds as well. And whilst this is kind of also being used by some of the riders as preparation, the worst kind of preparation would be somebody crashing or worse, even a member of the public, injuring them. That would be devastating for for the race.
You've got to look for the riders' safety. We don't want anything blown onto the riders, doing barriers or trees. So I think it's a good decision, and safety in mind.
It is only a bike race at the end of the day, so yeah, if it's too dangerous, and that's what the police say, like on the seafront, it's real dodgy. They can't put signs up and things, so. Yeah, I think it's the best decision, but yeah, we're obviously disappointed. We wanted to race in.
It's a brave decision, It's not nice for the organisers, not nice for the riders, not nice for the fans who turned out to watch. But it's better than a fatality or something.
But I don't think any of the riders are going to complain, man. A day in the hotel.
Well, there we are. Jack Bauer declaring his ambition to spend the whole day in bed. If I'd interviewed you and you'd been ready to go, what would you have told me?
I would have wanted to race.
Right.
Yeah, I would have done, and I think just like I said earlier, you want to get up and you want to go to battle and you want to, kind of give your best. It's one of those things that you just kind of get motivated for, but I think, again,
yeah,
the decision's been made in the right way.
Yeah. Okay, well, the day wasn't entirely without riding their bikes. They did all make it to the start line at Kendal, and there they rolled around the town, at least to give the good people of Kendal, who'd come out in large numbers here, despite the awful conditions, something to watch.
The riders just pedalling away here for the parade lap of Kendal, and on the right, wearing the IG Markets gold jersey, Mark Cavendish, the fastest sprinter on the planet, having a nice friendly chat with his teammate right alongside him, Mark Renshaw. Well, the weather looks good here, Brian, but of course there's no racing today.
Yeah, that's quite unfortunate. Actually, half an hour before the start, it was like a monsoon here in Kendal. It's cleared up a wee bit, but there's a lot of debris in the course and very high winds in Blackpool.
And those winds are estimated to be around about 85 85 miles per hour. Well, Renshaw there wearing the Prostate Cancer Charity points jersey, the blue one. Mark Cavendish actually the leader in that classification, but of course he can't wear both jerseys, so the man that lies second enjoys that honour.
Yeah, Mark Cavendish won't be too disappointed with that. Mark Renshaw is a very good friend and teammate, but moving on to pastures new next year.
Well, we get a chance to look at the other two classification jerseys here. We've got the Skoda King of the Mountains jersey on the left. Brilliant riding by Russell Hampton on the first stage has given him the lead in that. And then the Yodel Sprints jersey being worn by Pieter Gilibert of Belgium. So all the 4 classification jerseys on show for the first time. Massive crowds have turned out, and this is reminiscent of the size of crowd that was here for the finish in 2007. On that occasion, it was the Russian Serov that took the stage victory. Mark Cavendish coming in second, who just out-sprinted Romain Fayou, the Frenchman. Well, I'm just wondering, it's early on, of course. We're only getting towards stage 3 after this cancel stage, Brian, but what do you think the chances are of Great Britain ending up on the top spot on the podium in London?
Well, you need to look at this man here in the picture, Geraint Thomas from Team Sky, and he's one of the biggest prospects. Come here, tremendous in the Tour de France this year, and one of the brightest prospects here in Britain.
And of course, we're looking there at Mark Renshaw, who's the lead-out man for Mark Cavendish, but he's off to the team of Rabobank, isn't he?
Yeah, he's off to Rabobank, and unfortunately he got news overnight that he wasn't selected for the World Championships team for Australia, so he's in a bit of a downer, but he'll be very up to see that Mark Cavendish is in that IG Markets Gold jersey.
And of course, we're still waiting anxiously to find out what team Mark Cavendish is going to ride for, but just look at the crowds and the school children, the atmosphere, unbelievable.
Well, this is why the riders have decided to do that, the team managers backing, because of the crowds. Some of the riders at the back were going over to the kids and giving them their water bottles because they knew they weren't going to be used them later on in the stage.
Good souvenirs. Well, there are a lot of good sprinters in this race this year, but Mark Cavendish yesterday with that electric finish, thanks to the lead out from Renshaw, dispatched them, and he is the man leading, of course, wearing the IG Markets Gold jersey. Now then, can we take a look at tomorrow's stage? That's the stage in the Peak District, 3 climbs of which the toughest is Gun Hill. How do you see the race going?
Well, we've done this stage twice before in the same route, and it's always produced a very worthy winner. Very difficult stage, difficult finish into Stoke-on-Trent, and I would expect it to be very aggressive tomorrow. You've got to remember, Hugh, that these riders have not ridden the whole stage today, so physically they'll be stronger tomorrow, but mentally it affects some riders, and too many riders totally up for this stage today will have to pick themselves up after an easy day today to go into tomorrow with a strong mind to try and win the stage.
If I can put you on the spot, Brian, out of all the stages, which stage would you say will be the day of selection?
Well, there's 2 stages for me. There's the one in Wales up Caerphilly Mountain, and there's the time trial stage in London. So they will dictate, I think, the general classification at the end of this year's Tour of Britain.
But tomorrow, Brian, let us not forget the first category climb is in the route, and that's Gun Hill.
Well, there are quite a few hard stages still to come in this year's Tour of Britain with many category climbs, but tomorrow will be difficult for a lot of riders.
Well, there's no doubt about it. The strength of entry here in this race is the strongest since the race's inception back in 2004. Great Britain with a very good chance of winning. There's the world champion from Norway, Tur Hushoff, with that racing cape on to keep himself warm. He'll be trying to bag a stage victory before the end of this contest, and then he's away to defend his world title in Copenhagen. There's lots more stars that we haven't seen figuring yet in this race, but with the strength of entry, before we arrive at the finish in London, I feel sure they will be teeing themselves up for a tilt at a stage victory. So, more reaction to the day's events coming up after this break.
Welcome back. Now we have made it all the way to Blackpool, and Janto Barker, if anyone had any doubts about the correct decision being taken in terms of the feasibility of racing today, one glance at what's going on behind us tells you all you need to know, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're rocking and rolling here, just standing still. We're opposite the tower and the start and the finish straight, sorry, and it is a 3/4 headwind, which would have been almost unrideable, absolutely. And for any of my doubts about whether it was possible to ride, it has been confirmed here. It's impossible.
I'm just going to hold on to you for a second because the wind is truly unbelievable here. So absolutely no riding today. However, the team vehicles did take the 85-mile route all the way from Kendal to Blackpool in convoy. with their lights flashing and blaring their horns, just to put on a little bit of a show, at least for the hardy souls who made it to the side of the road today to support the race, and of course to alert people to the fact that today's racing sadly had to be abandoned. There was racing, of course, yesterday on stage 1 in Scotland from Peebles to Dumfries, and let's have a look at what happened there. Well, Mark Cavendish there in the leader's jersey. Not one, though, that he had to defend, at least on the road today, Mick Bennett, because there was no road for him to defend. Absolutely inevitable that today was going to be called off, wasn't it?
Yeah, we took reports from the Met Office this morning that actually said that winds are going to be gusting up to 75 mile an hour. Well, you know, in those conditions, you can't have a safe race for either the riders or the general public, or in fact the crew. So we took that decision this morning. Spoke to the UCI on the race and the team managers and the riders, and it was an easy one to take, to be frank, although it was difficult for me because I've never cancelled an event in my life.
Yeah, and as a rider in your career, ever have many races called off?
We were a lot tougher then. But no, in actual fact, no, there's only once when there was a power station blew up.
Right, that's a decent excuse.
On the milk race one, yeah, we had to so they stopped the stage then, but no.
No, absolutely. And the forecast is getting better gradually, isn't it?
Apparently, yeah, as we go further south,
yep.
The weather's going to brighten up and clear up. So the stage into Stoke tomorrow looks as the riders have rested today. It's going to be an absolute cracking one.
Good. And Mark Cavendish will at least start the day in the leader's jersey. He did make it, by the way, to Blackpool today, albeit in a team car, and he put in a personal appearance for the people of Blackpool. In fact, it was strictly Mark Cavendish.
Put your hands together then for the incomparable, iconic Mark Cavendish.
Kind of a home stage here, but no, it's incredible to finally race again on home roads in front of a home crowd. The support's been tremendous. You can see the weather that's come out today, the weather that was yesterday, but there's still the people that turn out to watch it. It's incredible to see how big cycling is now and this race.
No strange place for you here, because I understand that you actually danced here representing the Isle of Man in your early years.
Yeah, been here a few times. I was only young, it was way over 10 years ago, but I was dancing here a few times. I wasn't quite as good at that as I am at cycling, so I didn't do too well, but yeah, I have big memories from here. So we want to win the race. We came here for stages. I want to win stages. That's obvious, and I'd like to give the overall a go, but if I don't, we've got 5 other guys who can. So yeah, it's a course that suits the guys in our team. It's a course that suits our team, and we'll ride together well to try and achieve that.
Now then, I know you've got a special award to give here then to Councillor Fred Jackson, the Deputy Leader of Blackpool Council. So, sir, if you'd like to step forward, Mark Cavendish is going to present to you the IG Markets Gold jersey as a souvenir and a memento of his visit and the Tour of Britain visit here to Blackpool. Hold it up proudly, sir. There we are.
Well, Mark Cavendish, every inch the superstar, even when he's not riding a bike. The reception he's received everywhere so far on the Tour of Britain, quite amazing. And Janto Barker, of course, he leads the way in the general classification, but for how much longer? Tomorrow's going to be quite testing, isn't it?
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a difficult stage. You know, Gun Hill is very steep, but it is a long way out. There's 35 miles back to the finish, and I think, you know, he's going to think with his teammates, the strength that they've got, he's going to think he's going to be able to hold that when they get back to the finish.
You would anticipate someone attacking him though and trying to have a little go on Gun Hill possibly, or keeping it tight until later in the stage?
Well, I think they need to. I mean, there are a few other dinks at the end of the stage, but they have to make the selection and make sure everyone's got sore legs after they get over that. Then if everyone's a bit softened up, then they may be able to go again a little bit closer to the finish.
All right, thanks Janto. Well, I think we've been fully softened up by the conditions here in Blackpool today. Tomorrow, I'm sure we'll have racing. Tomorrow, it's always better, isn't it?